All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this interesting discussion with Professor Mike Chen from Malaysia. We are going to have this interview while he is in Kota Kinabalu in Sabah in Malaysia. And I'm conducting this interview here from the office of GBP International. We are partner in one organization which we joined, which is the BWA, the Association of German Foreign Trade and Investment. And while I'm chairing the Committee for International Trade and Investment, Professor Mike is one of our very esteemed senators in our group, and he is heading, I would say, international affairs related to medical business, so to say. And Mike is the chief researcher and founder of the European Wellness Group. And I'm very happy that we have a little bit of time today to tap your experience and to tap your thoughts where we are today in the medical, pharma, beauty, wellness industry. And without further ado, Mike, I would like to open the discussion and ask you a little bit about, let's say, what is on everybody's mind today, which is, of course, the COVID situation. Everybody is affected. How is the situation on your side and for your businesses?
All right, now for the last 35 years, I've been traveling across the world. Every year I will go across the world at least 10 times, and every ticket is a one-way ticket, and I continue my journey throughout the world. Since I'm in the scientific and medical side of the research, so I'm always a speaker across 30 medical and scientific conferences. So for my last travel internationally was in January, because Malaysia have the lockdown in March, but before the March, we are having Chinese New Year. So from there until today, I'm still right in Kota Kinabalu and not traveling anywhere. Compared to the old days, I'll be traveling every week and try to come back on the Friday and Saturday and Sunday to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
So the situation in Malaysia, I would say even in Asia, even in Japan, we are undergoing a certain repeat of the waves. Even in Malaysia, we're having the third wave, and it comes and go, and then it increase and go up. I presume I can see the news same in every part of the world. Okay. So at the end of the day, I would say on everyone's mind will be that someone will be saying, the vaccines is coming, when can we have the vaccine? We like to have the vaccine as soon as possible. But others will also say, should I take the vaccine? Is the vaccine the solution, or should I wait? Okay, so it depends on how you look at things.
Are you going to get yourself? Will you vaccinate yourself once there is a proper vaccine on the market? What is your position as a doctor?
Now, on my personal side, I would say I may not vaccinate myself first. Okay, because you have to understand, my views is that when you vaccinate yourself, you're also putting the virus into your body. Okay, in a small amount for your immune system to accept it. And we have to understand that the virus are of different types. What we have in China and in Malaysia and certain parts of Asia, or even in Europe and USA, they are of different types, they mutate very fast. So it depends on individual. In my case, I will say, I will wait and see and observe, okay? Again, we have to understand, even if you find the virus, over a certain time, the medication may have to change again to adapt to a new environment, because the virus is changing all the time.
Right. And is your group or your business interest also somehow related to the COVID solutions we are all waiting for, or can you describe a little bit your
in
business
a way,
activity?
yes, we are also trying to, I always think that we have to boost up your immune system. As long as the virus don't come down to your windpipe, as long as we take care of our mucus area, and it don't come down through the windpipe, it will never goes to the lungs, meaning it will never attack the lower lungs then, and then spread to the vital organs. We have to understand with the virus, if you are infected, means your immune systems will react, and then there is totally an attack on all the other vitals, including the brain, the liver, the kidney, everything, And even when you recover, The damages can be irreversible for some, okay, and for others, they are also badly damaged. They need time to repair. So the right thing I would say is everyone has to be a bit on the discipline side. I still believe you have to wear a mask. You know, you still have to keep some social distancing. This will be the new normal, you know, and people will be more careful. And we have to adapt, and we have to come with the new normal. It will never be the same again. All right. This is how I look at things.
I
so
think
the same for the business. It will have to change.
Yeah, and I think many people are really adapting now. You know, I definitely see less travel for businesses. People get used to Zoom meetings, even though we are all desperate to meet in person. But as you say, life has to go on, and we need to find solutions. And also, some companies are innovative about it, offering different and new technologies and services. I have learned in our previous discussion, you are quite active in the stem cell research. What can you share with our listeners about the recent results in the stem cell research, and what kind of solutions or benefits are we able to see in the foreseeable future?
All right. Now, I spent 35 years of my life. I'm 60 years old today. And I spent 35 years of my life in Europe, predominantly in Germany, Switzerland, and many parts of Europe, including the 80s in the Soviets, to do a lot of research into biological medicine and stem cell research. Okay. Yes, there is some openings with the stem cells. Even the FDA of USA was being more open up to the research stem cells, you know, and then there was some application of stem cells which seems to show some result. Again, I will always still say it has to depend on the individualized condition of the patient. You know, if I have a damage on my liver, then I obviously think you have to repair the liver. But overall, everyone has to maintain a good immune system. Once you have a good immune system, it's not so easy to be infected in the first place. So that is important. So that's how I look at it. Stem cells, to me, is the future and the present, even the present of medicine. There is a lot of things we can do with stem cells. But of course, there's also a lot of scam in the market, you know, some false promises or hopes. So we have to understand in great detail the different types of stem cells. I have done around 30 over publications in this research of biological medicine, and stem cells are also in immunology. We have written a number of books, and one of my books was published in UK. This is totally on stem cells. Okay. You know, if you need to know more information, it's quite simplified for the general public. They can understand a lot of what stem cells is all about. Because in today's world, even if you ask many medical doctors, they themselves are not very sure on stem cells. There's so many types of stem cells, and some will work and some may not work at all. You know, there's not a one cure for all. It has to depend what type of stem cells you use and adapt to the condition.
Yeah, I agree. And like in any, let's say, new fields or new research or new products or new technologies, it's a little bit of a try and error process, you know. And while we are tapping the unknown, we need people like yourself and your team, which is going the next mile or the extra mile. And we are very grateful to learn from you. And this is a good example for me that as a, let's say, as a German person or individual, we should really look out 360 degree. Don't look only what has been done in Europe or in Germany or Switzerland, US. I think we can learn a lot from things which are happening in Asia. You know, we have traditional Chinese medicine, which is very popular now. And so we should put all this knowledge together and get the best out of both worlds, really. And I think you are a very good and excellent example, because you traveled between East and West, and you have friends and partners in East and West. So we can all learn from each other. And I admire what you have achieved. So congratulations on that side.
Thank you for that. But I'm always think, you know, I always think that the important thing for the physicians is to be very open-minded. Okay. And the first thing is that in medicine is first do no harm. So the applications, the medications, or the therapy we are using for the physicians, they shouldn't harm the patient, the first thing. Next, we will talk about, after this safety, will be the potency, to what extent it will help the patients. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm very exposed to Chinese medicine. being a third generation Chinese, my great grandfather comes from China, and we settled down in the early 1990s in Malaysia, and then that's where we are born, and we become citizens of the Commonwealth. And in Malaysia, I'm proud to be a Malaysian all the time. And but I'm totally educated the Commonwealth way, you know. So I sincerely think there's a lot we can learn up. We have to be very open. There is goodness in every type of medication and practice. The important thing is if it helps the patient, it won't harm the patient, it can still be used in synergy together with the conventional medicines or the traditional medicine or the holistic and integrative medicines. So I'm totally open to all because we lead a team of thousands of doctors. I'm exposed to 80 countries today. I've traveled across 60 over countries all the time, giving education across the world together with my professors and doctors. So we are exposed and we have a great team. We work together with great doctors across the world today.
Excellent.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
You are not only a very reputable and well-known researcher and medical specialist, you are also a very successful businessman, if I may say so. Please share with us a little bit about your investments you have done, especially in Europe. I think our viewers are very
All right, I'm a bit flattered, you know, but
yeah.
It's true. I start in the mid 20s. I only had $10,000 US, and I came to Europe, you know, from UK with my wife, and then I started the business, you know, at the same time in Switzerland and Germany together in Malaysia. Why in Malaysia, in Kota Kinabalu? I was from Kuala Lumpur. I got married to my wife who studied in England, and she was in Kota Kinabalu. That's where I reside until today. And with the $10,000 seed capital, starting with one table, two chair, and an office, I cannot even afford a car for 2 to 3 years. I have to work for free with some of my masters. I learned from my masters. You know, I don't like to steal anything, but I like to steal some brains from my master, and I did. And I come to realize life is a learning process. You have to continue to learn from everyone, you know, and you have to share the knowledge to everyone too. And we have to heal the world today. We must continue to heal the world and do our part. So I started everything with minimal capital to build a mini empire. Today, I would say I have 26 clinics across the world, including in Switzerland or Germany or in Greece or in many parts in Malaysia, in China, in Hong Kong or Manila, most part of the world, and we are opening up in Bahamas or in even in Mexico and US and Africa or the Middle East, you know. But again, we are mostly into the education part. So I emphasize a lot on education to the physicians. And most of the time, the education is free of charge. We don't charge for the education. Yeah.
With your experience and your background, if we look, let's say, at young students who are starting, who are interested in the medical field, I have the pleasure that my son has decided to study medicine. Which directions in the medical field do you see as most promising? Of course, each and every segment of the medical faculty has its justification and its niche. But where, if you were 20 years again now and you would start studying again medical research or medical studies, which subject would you choose and which you see most promising?
Now, I would say with the new technology, you know, even with the stock markets today, biotech is one of the strong one now. You know, you will need biotechnology all the time. You need technology. You need to come with more vaccines even for the future. There could be another COVID, you know, another type of COVID coming up over the years. We all know it comes every now and then. We cannot stop new viruses from appearing. So we are just like a Samsung or iPhone or a Huawei, you know, every few months there is a change in the new phone, and most of us will probably change to the new phone too because we want to go with the technology. Okay, so the same things go for medicine and in the field of health. You know, wellness has to be considered too. So people are looking too into medicine with wellness. Everyone is very afraid to die this day or very careful with themselves. So I sincerely think biotechnology coupled with medicine is a good field to be immersed in. So even for the doctors, they have to move a bit into the biotech to understand more, you know. And that means to say they could understand more, some time to be spent in the lab to understand more about what is inside the lab, the mechanism of how it works inside the lab. Yeah.
There is, I don't know if you follow the news in Germany, we have quite a controversial discussion about all the vaccination process. We have conspiracy theories that people in the, let's say, in the network of Bill Gates are trying to vaccinate people and put a chip into the vaccine to monitor and control people. What is your professional opinion on all these conspiracy theories surrounding the COVID discussion?
Now, without prejudice, okay, I always think that there's a lot of things can be behind, just like in politics, or in every field, even in medicine, and even with case studies or publications. It's very difficult to say if there's no conspiracy around the world. They always are to a certain extent, okay? So I would think that, it's just like you can create a virus for the computers. You can also create an antivirus to a certain extent. Okay. So of course, they're also joining people who are keen to help the world. There are also people who want to make more money by creating a virus and come up with a solution for the virus. So I would not want to comment so much on this, but I sincerely think my job is to heal the world to the best we can and to prevent another virus like this attacking us, because it's killing the whole world. Just look at the airline industry, just look like the economies of the world. Everyone is very affected, and poverty is coming more in a greater way in the coming years. It takes years and even decades for some industry to kind of to recover, especially with the airline and tourism industry in a certain way. So I sincerely think we have to spend a bit more time, to come up with better solution and do the prevention for the next futures, next track of viruses coming in.
No, I agree with you. And let's say the impact of all the, especially the economic disaster which is happening, especially in the more developing countries who don't have so much, say, public money to subsidize and to give a lifeline to restaurants, to hotels, to airlines, to tour operators. It's a massive destruction and a massive reinvention we have to go through in the next, I would say, 5 to 10 years. And I'm a very big fan of Schumpeter in economic terms, who has told us about creative destruction, where some business will die and collapse, while other business will pop up again and be more creative with new solutions as we go along. And this is in let's say in economic history, if you monitor, it's a permanent process we all go through since decades, if not centuries. So this will also be an external event, so to say, which nobody foresaw. People talk about black swans. And I really share your view as well, that we have to prepare, we have to invest solutions to bring the economies up to speed again, to give jobs to people, to generate income so that people can survive and feed their families. Where do you see?
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, where do you see the biggest challenges? I mean, in Germany, we understand that the government is giving subsidies. People are extending employment with people. We call it Kurzarbeitergeld, where people stay employed even though they are they are not needed to go to work, so that they are not getting unemployed. That has been serving the economy very well here in the financial crisis 10 years ago. We don't have such things in the developing countries because people are just let go and then they have to look after their survival. What would be your recommendation in terms of policy recommendations for countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, these countries you know so well? Are they doing the right thing at the moment?
I think some countries are doing the right thing, and initially most countries was adopting to a certain kind of keeping a distance, or some lockdown, which they did it quite well at the beginning. But when another phase came out, another wave come out, and then another wave will come out, they start to get a bit exhausted, and then and also the people are being locked down, the citizens, they tend to get a bit of impatient and they start to roam around. And today you can see that certain countries are very disciplined. I can notice the Chinese, when they did it and when they have it, they lock down almost the whole country and then the whole country, and they keep it for a certain time and make sure everything is done up well. And if you were to look again into Taiwan, look at how Taiwan did it. They have one of the best record in the world today. They're so close to China as neighbors, but they don't have the infection like what they have in Korea, in Japan. But then you look down into Pakistan or in Iraq, or even in Manila, or maybe other places across the world, unfortunately, with the developing countries too, they're still hanging around, they're close to each other, they're still in the streets, and then you can see the figures are going in a very big way. The same in the US, I would see that the figures are alarming great, and if some things have not to be changed, then it may be even worse across the winter periods.
Yeah, I mean, we see that already now in Europe, where the winter months are coming, which is a very, let's say, biological condition for the virus to spread easier. What I'm personally puzzled, maybe you can educate me a little bit while we talk. We don't see many spikes in African countries, really, and Middle East. Is this because
now
of
again, it could be due to the African has a stronger kind of adaptation to poorer living condition. Throughout history, they have better endurance too, So you are very right in that sense. They have a lesser figure than the rest of the world. But we already know in history, Africans have better endurance. I would say that. If you look at the sportsmen of the world, those in marathons, the Kenyans are very good with the marathons. They're always the champions in a way. So it depends, I have to say that, but we do not know. There are still spikes there, but it's not as big as what is in Europe and even in USA.
Maybe it's also because there is less testing facility, and maybe we even have a dark number.
They didn't test too. Yes, because a lot of countries didn't do a proper testing. So when you don't test, you don't even know how big is the figure,
Right.
So at the end of the day, everyone had to self-discipline. And I sincerely think some countries did it very well. Germany has been doing great with subsidizing the citizens. They took care of the citizen well compared to many other countries across the world. I do keep in touch with most of the physicians and friends across the world, or even all the patients. And I sincerely think some countries are doing great, very well. And some are just, even in India today, they just open up, and what can they do? Is a huge populous country. And if they don't open up, the economy will also go down. So economically, as a businessman, I would say they will fall faster than even the virus. Before the disease killed them, maybe the economy may have killed the country.
Like many people say, we have to be careful that the cure is not more dangerous than the disease. That is a big headline in the discussion. But
it's true. In my way, I simply think that way too. So we have to balance, just like in Malaysia. The government has to open up now. At the beginning, they don't have a lot of figures. They only has a 3-digit single figure, 100 over. They start to lock down, and then all of a sudden it shoot up to even a few days ago, it was 2,000, 2,000 to 100, and before that single digits, But the government still have to open up to a certain extent. Just like in Singapore, they have to open up too. Even for developed countries, they still have to open up, but they have to adapt certain policy, certain SOP to control. But sometimes it's very difficult to control human. Okay, there are people who will never adapt, and they will always be the opposite of what you want them to do. So it's not easy to rule the country and the people. So I have to salute the politicians to a certain extent, and the frontliners will be doing such a great job to save life, and a lot of them also sacrifice their life along the way. These are the people we have to respect, and we really have to thank them for what they have done very much.
Correct. Yeah. Professor, you are a senator of our BWA organization, and obviously, as travel is not possible or not easy, What is your message to our companies here in Germany who are interested in, let's say, the pharma, biotechnology, medical field? How can we interact with you and your network of companies and professionals in the industry? Where would you see areas of cooperation in the next year, to be very precise?
Okay, I sincerely think there's a lot of ways we can do that, because all my investments are predominantly in Switzerland and Germany, or even in US and Australia, but most of the time they're in Europe, because I started everything in Europe, you know.
Right.
And we do a lot of research and developments. We started as R&D, and then we move into manufacturing. Then we go into education. We don't have a sales and marketing team in our company until today, despite thousands of employees. Even in Malaysia, we have 300 over employees. There isn't any sales and marketing department, because I sincerely think things has to be in such a way, people had to be educated, be it the doctors or the physicians or the patients. They themselves had to be the better physicians themselves. A patient, I always tell the patient, you are the best physician yourself. So with today's internet technology, everyone can Google or go into the internet and find more information. The technology today is so different from what we have. Our children these days may not even need a TV anymore. They will have everything in their phone. So again, with medicines and science, we have to go along with what is going to happen and what is changing every day, you know. And I sincerely think we can do a lot here to offer as manufacturers, as researchers, as developers, and as educators, because we also run an academy. We also have a university providing regenerative medicine for physicians, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
We will share all your contact details again at the end of the video, and everybody is invited to call Professor Mike directly, or via me, or via our secretariat in Berlin. So it was a very interesting and enlightening and open discussion. I like to thank you very much for that. And we wish you and your team all the best, that COVID will be erased rather sooner than later, and that we can meet again in person. I would like to invite you for a nice dinner here in Berlin. Yes. And likewise, everybody who hasn't been to Malaysia or even Kota Kinabalu, I can tell you from my own experience, it's definitely worth the time to go there and travel there. It's a beautiful place. And
it is a wonderful place. Yeah. Yes. So, that's the reason why I've been here for 35 years. And again, I'm proud to be a senator of the BWA. I sincerely think we have been with the German party, we have been the federation, we've been going across the world, providing a lot of assistance and putting the economy of every country to a greater extent, benefiting from it together, you know. And today, even with the lockdown, the BWA and members are still very active too, because we can all do everything still looking at each other face to face without the traveling, with Zooms and some other medias, you know. So business still continue as usual. It's just that we don't meet for the time being, but everything is ongoing. So every day I'm having around 15 to 20 Zooms, and there's a lot of lectures going out across the world. I just finished 2 lectures, one in the morning and one just before this meeting with you, you know, and tonight we have another lecture for the Americans. So we continue to do what we have to do. And during bad times, there are also people who make more money with the good times, as good businessmen who know how to adapt. So as a businessman, I would say we have to be doing business in the right way and with a good conscience. And we must save lives.
That's right.
To give is better than to take. Yeah.
That is an excellent closing remark, Professor. I'd like to thank you again very much. Best wishes to Malaysia, Kota Kinabalu. And we all hope to meet you in person. Maybe we invite you for a lecture if traveling is possible. We have excellent cooperation with the universities here. And I'm sure we can meet again very soon. Thank you very much. Also,
wonderful. Thank you very much.
Also,
bye-bye. Terima kasih.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.